Do you want to learn how to play Axe hard support in 50 minutes or less? If yes, this is the best place for you to be here. Similar to my other guides like CM, Kloitz, Jakiro, today I'm gonna give you literally a full-on guide from the very beginning to the very end on how to play Axe position 5. Someone might ask, but Jeff, why would I play Axe position 5? Did something change? And the answer is no, not really. The only buff that he got is this one. He just got a little bit of movement speed and a little bit of Helix AoE. But in reality, every time a hero gets a movement speed buff, it's a buff towards becoming a support. Now Axe is a strong laner, he's great in 1v1 situation, and of course, it's the mid game that we're most interested in. His mid game is insane. Berserker's Call is a hard piercing BKB, hard to lock down for the rest of the game, so this hero in reality scales infinitely. So far I have tremendous win rate, I have 8 wins and 2 losses, which is approximately 8% win rate, so I decided to break down everything into a video from the very beginning to the very end. The main things that we will talk about the video are this: starting items, laning stage, skill build, game plan, mid-game optimization, and of course friends and foes. That means who do you want to play with and who you hate to play against. Before I actually jump into the video, what I want to say is that these videos take tremendous amount of time, energy, editing, and of course, coffee. So please subscribe, like, and comment, as it motivates us a lot to keep making these videos and give as much value as possible. Let's not waste any more time, and let us start with the guide.
Up and down, side to side, like a roller coaster.
Just like most melee position 5, Axe is a strong laner, so investing that much in stats, in items like Circlet, Gauntlet, or GG branches, it's actually not that much effective. There are 4 starting items: the Windlace build, the Stick build, the Orb of Venom build, and the Stats plus Ring of Protection build. So when do we buy Windlace? Windlace, in my opinion, is the most beloved build that I like. So you start with Windlace, that later on you're gonna make Tranquil Boots, and then you get different items like Tangos, maybe Fairy Fire, a couple of Mangoes, and then you can just with the rest of gold go buy some branches. The second build is a Stick build. When you buy a Stick build versus Bristleback, Scarlet Mage, overall any dual lane that's gonna spam a lot of spells. I think that's makes a lot of sense, right? The third one is the Orb of Venom. When do we go Orb of Venom? The answer is only if you have heroes that you're gonna close gap. If you have something like a Phantom Assassin with you, a Chaos Knight, and you start to get the idea. If you have something like a Draw Ranger, I don't think Draw Ranger is a lot of slow level 1, so I wouldn't buy Orb of Venom with Draw Ranger. The last build is the Stats plus Ring of Protection. A piece of advice is to go for this build only if you're going to receive a lot of physical damage. For example, you play with the Slardar and the Dawnbreaker, so you're gonna receive a lot of physical damage. The good thing about this is that your Battle Hanger actually gets more damage if you have more armor, so keep that in the back of your head. The idea is similar to all the melee heroes. You want to actually cast Battle Hanger on the enemy position 4 and try to trade with him, and this is the idea until you have level 2. Now Battle Hanger is actually a fairly okay cooldown, high damage, low mana spell that you can actually constantly get to use all the time. I would advise you to use it on the position 4, not on the position 3, mainly because if you actually last hit or deny a creep, then the curse is gonna disappear. You can use it on the position 3 if only the creep wave just died, so there is a lot of time until the next creep wave connect. On level 2, you're gonna get Helix, and this is actually your big power spike. When you get Helix, you're not only strong enough in 1v1 situations, but you can also go inside the creep wave and start receiving damage, so you're gonna proc more Helix and deal damage to enemies. Now one might say, if I do that inside the creep wave, am I not going to push the wave? And the answer is both yes and no. What does it mean? If you actually proc a lot of Helix, in reality what's gonna happen is you're gonna deal also a lot of damage. That means that you will deal enough damage to either kill heroes or get them low enough that even if you push the wave, they can't really contest creeps easily, even if it's near their tower. Of course, I want to point out that Helix is only 60 damage. As a result, you need to proc many times in order for you to push the wave. A piece of advice when you get level 2 and you go inside the creep wave to receive damage, so you're gonna use Helix, is that make sure you don't really get to attack the enemies unless they start fighting you back. As a result, pull the aggro on you and start running towards them, but without actually leaving a big gap, so they're gonna be all the time inside your Helix range. For you to go inside the creep wave and receive damage, you always need to calibrate the situation. Ideally, you want to do that when the creep wave just meets. A piece of advice though, if you're afraid to do that, you can still stick to the first plan, which is battle Hunger the position 4 and start running at him and try to trade all the time 1v1. On level 3, this is where things become a little bit more tricky in terms of skill build. What are you gonna skill? You can go for Berserker Skull level 1, or you can go for level 2 Battle Hunger. The only piece of advice, no matter what you'll follow from there, is until the laning stage is over, I want you to have Helix only level 1, because level 1 Helix is enough 60 pure damage to actually mess up with the enemies and give you a lot of kill potential. Level 1, you will always go for Battle Hunger. Why do you do that? Because Battle Hunger is actually 120 damage on level 1 on a fairly okay cooldown, and most importantly, it doesn't really cost a lot of mana. As a result, the idea is to just Battle Hunger the enemy and just try to rank him down. Ideally the position 4. Level 2, as we said, you go for Helix, you go inside the creep wave, and you try to trade. From there, make sure you adapt. You can go for full Berserker Skull, you can go for full Battle Hunger. It depends on the situation. Just make sure you have Helix level 1 until the mid game. Talents on level 10. Personally, just because Axe support is fairly squeezy, I prefer the plus 8 Berserker Skull. On level 15, I prefer the plus 30 Helix. Now, on level 15, if you're really far behind in levels, and you want to kite enemies, going for the Battle Hunger Slow is extremely good as well. On level 20, you go for plus 150 Cooling Blade damage, really good, really strong talent. And of course, level 25, you go for the extra Berserker Skull AoE, super strong. This is what the hero is all about. By now, you should have gotten a fine laning stage. Once again, the idea is to use our low mana spell on the enemy position 4 and try to get all the time favorable trades. Now, the whole idea of Axe support is to actually get the Blink Dagger and kinda transition into this core Axe without the amount of farm. We just care about having the dagger and the initiation. So, how do we get to this dagger? And these are some game plans that you need to follow. Number 1. You stay near your tier 1 in the safe lane and try to protect it as much as possible. Many times, what happens is that your core, your carry, is gonna leave out of the lane to go to the jungle. So many times, enemies get to take this tier 1 for free. No one really actually gets to defend that. If you stay there, Axe is really high health hero to commit on him, so you can actually take a lot of farm and make it hard for the opponent to take the tower. If you're too scared to do that, you can actually Battle Hunger the creep wave and start running away from the tower if you feel like you're gonna get jumped on. In case your tier 1 has actually fallen, what you can do is stick to your tier 2 and actually get the dead lane's farm, which is usually something that people are afraid to take off, mainly because the cores might get caught. There is nowhere to TP, so you can take this farm because in the end, you're at position 5. Number 2, you can actually gank without having a dagger. What does it mean? Well, we're playing in a meta that there are a lot of stuns. Now, especially with the Meteor Hammer meta, everybody has a stun. So you can just smoke with the person that has stun, and you can actually let them set up for your Berserker Skull. On number 3, you can actually gank if you have a jungle item like Tumbler's Toy. Tumbler's Toy is kind of a small initiation. It's probably the best item for the very few minutes of Axe, and you can actually get to close gap so much easier than not having that. It's like a small dagger. So if you have Tumbler's Toy, consider smoking with someone that has a lot of damage, let's say something like a Scarab Mage, and actually gank. Number 4, which is the last plan before you get the dagger, is to actually go jungle. Now, in both scenario 1 and 4, where you just protect the tower or you just go jungle, ideally the small and the medium camp, otherwise you're gonna lose a lot of health, is to start getting more levels in Helix. So with level 1 Helix, it's gonna take a lot of time to actually go jungle, but level 2 Helix is actually more than enough to start clearing camps fast. Now, when should you go jungle? The answer is simple. When you have won all your lanes and everyone is pushing the lanes and everything is pushed, so there's not really something to push or a dangerous area to actually take the farm. Congratulations, by now you have actually Blink Dagger. So what's the game plan right now? The game plan is pretty much the same. Smoke, try to find pick off, or generally you want to be as active as possible. For all I know, you have all the items you need to be active. The idea is to blink in, find pick off, and disengage to find a good opportunity to blink in again and use your Berserker Skull. In a team fight, we just want to go in, engage, and then just disengage, get lost a little bit in the jungle, and try to jump back in again. a piece of advice would be to not overstay as support, because you will find out that you are actually not as tanky as a core Axe. That means you have no Vanguard and most likely you will die. And the moment you feel like you're about to die, go disengage and try to find another opportunity to go in again. In case you're actually doing great, even after you got the dagger, you can always try to split push, perhaps you get some illusion rune so you can spread them around the map, you can go jungle, of course you can cut waves. In case your team actually lost the fight, you can cut waves so they will not force tier 3s. And overall, you are very versatile. But the most important thing after you get the dagger, please stick with your team. You're gonna have tremendous impact if you just blink and use call on the enemy, ideally on the enemy core heroes. Later on, items like Blade Mail or Meteor Hammer or BKB, and of course the Refresher, Force Staff, you will find the gold once you get the dagger. The hard part of Axe is actually make the lane work, which doesn't really make a lot of effort, but needs to be calibrated and then just going to the dagger. Later on, the game becomes so much simpler. A small reminder is that if you feel like you're gonna die, you should buy BKB after Blink Dagger, because, you know, heroes like Leshrac, Timbersaw, OD are all in the meta and they actually deal so much damage. Even if you get to use Call, they can actually get to kill you if you don't get to Blink Call them. My last piece of advice in the mid game about the ultimate Calling Blade is to actually use it without aiming to actually take the armor. If you do take the armor and seal the kill, that's perfect. But don't hesitate, just throw it. In the end, it's just 250 damage, pure damage, so definitely you can't really go wrong with that. Personally, I find Axe extremely dangerous and I want to be as online on the map as possible. You want to be as active as possible. Since my main source of trading is health, I love Tranquil Boots. That's why I love to start with Windlace. So the first item is actually Tranquil Boots. Then what I'll suggest is to pick a wand and a fluffy hat just to tank up a little bit. Sip a couple of clarities and this should be more than enough to actually have a lot of resources to get you to the dagger. Going into the mid game, by now you already know you need to pick up the dagger. But what do you buy after that? Now, as we said before, if you play versus OD, Leshrac, Timbersaw and all these heroes, you can always go for BKB second item. But if you play versus heroes that you want to buy Blade Mail, or my favorite one, you want to go for Meteor Hammer, so you can go Berserker Skull into Meteor Hammer and have this huge chain stun, that's also great. But third item, most likely make sure it's BKB. Of course, items like Force Staff, Glimmer Cape, Lotus Orb are all great. For example, if you play versus Slark, get the Force Staff. If you play versus a lot of magical damage and you're really far away from your BKB, get a Glimmer Cape. For example, you play versus Kareth Mage or Zeus. Lastly, about the Shard, I find Shard to be extremely good. The problem is that you're not really that tanky, and even if you actually get a lot of procs and reduce, let's say, the damage of an Ursa or a Phantom Assassin significant, just because you're really squishy, it's not really gonna make that much difference. You will still die. As a result, I find Shard really good, but there is just not enough time for you to buy it. Now, the last section is friends and foes. That means, what heroes do we like to actually play with in the lane? Any other melee hero like Dawnbreaker, Trend and so on, we love heroes with slows and we love heroes that allows us to close gap the enemies. So heroes like Phantom Assassin, Troll, Chaos Knight and of course Draw Ranger, anything with slow is more than acceptable. What heroes do you want to play against? So Axe is really good against heroes that can be controlled and are BKB dependent. For example, you get to play versus Slark, you get to play versus Naga, BL, Huskar, Windranger, AM, and of course heroes like Batrider and Necro that actually are usually good heroes versus Axe. You just want to hold them in place and you can definitely just kill them within 3 seconds during the cold duration. Of course, the heroes we hate are the heroes with a lot of magical damage. Heroes like OD, Viper, Leshrac, Timbersaw. These are heroes that actually can get to kill you fairly easily. Not only in the mid game, but also in the lane stage, they are fairly strong and they get to deal a lot of damage. As a result, even if you get to use Berserker Skull, armor doesn't really get to affect them that much. So we want to avoid these heroes as much as possible. Thank you for watching the guide. Once again, I know this is an unusual hero compared to our CM and Lich and Clockwork and all these heroes that we have actually make many guides for, but I find Axe to be extremely good. I have suggested it to all my students and so far they're all doing great with Axe. As a result, do give it a try and you will see the results yourself. GG, Raza, and I'll see you on the next video. Hey guys, real quick,
If you did like this video, make sure you subscribe, like and comment, as it motivates us a lot to keep making these videos and these guides. And of course, make sure you check out our 6-month coaching program. It's almost guaranteed that's gonna get you to the next metal, if not metals. The link is gonna be down in the descriptions. Make sure you click it and apply right now.